All right, let's talk about borders and boxes and lines. Oh my. So I've got some just sample stuff in here. I have a header with a heading, an article that's basically got a couple paragraphs and two horizontal rules, and then just a standard little footer down here. And I've got a style page already set up. Nothing too fancy going on, a bunch of empty stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and align the footer. So once we have all of our stuff in here, we could then start doing our normal styling. So we already know that we could do like, a background color for, certain things and pick a color that's a little different, or whatever. You can also add, specific heights to things if you wanted something to be bigger or smaller. Like there's 50 or 100 pixels, you can make them a lot bigger. But the other thing that you can add is borders. So if I wanted to add like a border or a box rather around this article, I can put in the border properties. And there are basically three border properties: the border color, the border width, and the border style. So if I were to put in for the article a border color, I could say it was going to be blue. Okay, and if I click off of here, notice there's nothing there, right? That's because you got to get all of them in there. So border color, border width, and border style. So border width, I decide how big, and notice there's words like medium, thick, and thin, or you can put in an actual pixel. I'm going to be kind of obnoxious here, 10 pixels. Notice still no border because you have to have the final one in there, which is border style, and the border style is dashed or dotted or double or whatever. The most common is solid. Now see we have an actual border. And that's how you put those in there. However, there's also shorthand for that. So for the header, let's say I want to do the same thing. Instead of putting those three in there, I can just put border in there. And then I can put those three things with a space bar between them. So say for this one, I want to have a red 5-pixel solid border. Then there we go. And then you don't have to put in all three of these. But you do need to know what these three things are, which are color, width, and style. Don't say size, because size isn't really the right word. It is the width of the border. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can style our HRs. And we can give our HRs heights too. So like right now the HR is its standard, which I think is a pixel. But if I go height here, let's say 3 pixels, notice that now my HR is wider. But if you also notice, the middle of the HR is clear, because that's how an HR works. So they don't really, like if you go research CSS with regards to horizontal rules, there's not really a good way to style a horizontal rule, because if you start to make it a certain color, it's actually set through like border color, say red, then you have to put in all the parts again. You got to do the red and the tin and the whatever. So we would just use plain old border. Well, and if I did a 2-pixel red solid border, then notice, let me click off of it so you can see, that's what it looks like. Let me click up here. There you go. That's what it looks like. There's still that white gap in the middle. So then we'd also add like a background color of that so it wouldn't have the white, and we make it red, and then that would give us our line. Well, this is kind of the hard way to do this, to be honest. So the better way to style a horizontal rule is to first off get rid of it altogether. You can say border none or border 0. And then, since we know it's going to put a border around the top, the bottom, left, and the right, just tell it you only want a border on one of those sides. So you could say border top, and then I could say I want a 5-pixel solid blue border, and there it is. Or I want a 5-pixel solid dashed border, and there it is. And since it's not going all the way around, it works. If it went all the way around, it starts to look weird. Like on this one, see, it's actually different. It puts them stacked on top of each other. And so then it's like not even really the right size. And in different browsers, it sometimes looks different also. So it's easier to do the border none and then set the border just to one of the sides, and then you have full control. Unless, you know, there's always an unless you're wanting it to have different sizes around there. So like, say I make this a 10 pixel line. So now see, it's a lot taller. See, it's at the top because I have it on border top. But if I change that, so now I've got that dash border around all of it because it's not going on the top, it's going around everything. But what if I wanted it to be different, like the top one to be one and the bottom one to be another? So when you look through here, there are some additional ways to do it. You can set up, here it is, you can separate your border style for all four sides separately by listing them separated by a space. So if I did a border, the size one, which is the width, if I did my border width, so if I come in here and I do a border, oops, border width, now it's lower in the cascade, so it's going to listen to this one instead of the one above it, right? So now if I say the width is going to be thick, thin, now the edges are thin, you can't really see the edges, thick, thin, medium, thin. I got all kinds of different ones happening here. Let me take off the border on this article so we can see it. All right, so there it is, and I click off so we can take a look. See, here's the teeny tiny little one right there on the edges. So that's the thin one. So here's the thick one, and it works like a clock. So it's top, right, bottom, left. That's what those stand for. Top, right, bottom, left. So I could do that way. I could take this out completely and just put these in separately. So I could say, you know, border color, red. Then I've got my border width, and then I've got my border style, and I could have it, you know, dotted, solid, dotted, solid. And then now not only are they different sizes, they're also different styles. See that? So that's kind of exciting, right? So there's lots of ways to mess with those HRs. But if you're just wanting to do a simple HR, set your height, set your border to none, and then just simply style one side, usually the top, to have the three things that you want. Red, 5 pixel, dashed, or whatever. And then you've just got a real simple line. And these where you can do all four different size different, that also works for these div boxes or these semantic elements like header and footer and articles. So you could put those in where you go around the clock and they're different on each side as well. So anyway, there's the fun with borders and boxes and lines and how we can style using border and then border style and border color and border width. So good luck.